Hello, everybody. My name is McRosie, and today we're going to be going over what I think are the three biggest elections coming up in Europe this year, which are the Dutch general election, the French presidential election, and the German federal election. Let's start with the Dutch. Now, the main parties in the Netherlands right now are the Party for Freedom and Democracy, the VVD, led by current Prime Minister Mark Rutte, the Labour Party, the PVDA, led by Deputy Prime Minister Lodewijk Asscher, the Socialist Party, led by Emil Roemer, the Christian Democratic Appeal, led by Sibran van Haarsma Buma, the Party for Freedom, which is led by Gerd Wilders, Democrat 66, which is led by Alexander Pechtold, the Christian Union, which is led by Gert Jan Segers, the Green League, which is led by Jesse Klaver, the Reform Political Party, which is led by Kies van der Staaij, the Party for the Animals, led by Maria Thiam, and the 50 Plus Party, led by Hank Krogh. Some of these are more major than others. Now, let's go over what happened last time. In the last election, the Party for Freedom and Democracy and the Labour Party got the most seats. In fact, the Labour Party outperformed themselves in the polls by a bit. The polling suggested that the Socialist Party would come in second, with the Party for Freedom not far behind, but they didn't get the Party for Freedom lost seats, and the Socialist Party didn't gain any. Sorry about the noise. There's lawn people out back doing the lawn. Anywho, this time around, it's going to be a little bit different. The two parties in the coalition, the Party for Freedom and Democracy and the Labour Party, are expected to lose seats, with the Labour Party expected to get absolutely frickin' reamed, shafted, just fucked, whatever you want to call it. They're gonna do worse by a lot compared to how they did in the last election. In the last election, they almost broke 40 seats. In this one, they'll be lucky if they break 10, which means that all the left-leaning parties that didn't do as well last time might gain some seats. Like the Socialists, as you can see, might do a little bit worse, but the Democrat 66, the Christ, the Green League, and the 50 Plus Party, which is I assume a pro pension, pro old people party, is going to do better at the expense of the Labour Party. But the party that's going to win the most seats is the Party for Freedom, which is led by Gert Wilders, famous of "We don't want any more Moroccans in the Netherlands," which is considered hate speech, but not hateful enough to get sent to prison, which is confusing and annoying to the people of the Netherlands, which is why they're showing their support by him in a large margin. So he'll be his party, the Party for Freedom, which is like the Party for Freedom and Democracy, but they got rid of the democracy part. They're going to be the largest party in the Netherlands, most likely, if the polling is correct. Like like I said last time, the polling was off. Like they thought the socialists were going to be the second biggest party, but we'll have to wait and see for the debates between the leaders to find out what happens. Right here, no one wants to be in coalition with the Party of Freedom. All the major parties, VVD, Labour, Socialists, Christian Democrats, other Democrats, you name it. They don't want to be tied to this party. So even if they get the most seats, which is looking likely, they're not going to be able to form a government. So the people who are going to be able to form a government will probably be the party with the most seats, forming another coalition government. But this time, it's not going to cut it with one party. It's probably going to be a multi-party coalition. Now, who will be the head of that government will probably depend on who has the most seats. It could be the Christian Democrats. It could be the Party for Freedom and Democracy again. But it matters is who's in the coalition, because right now it's only the Labour and the Party for Freedom and Democracy. Now, the biggest, I think, well, I wouldn't say biggest, probably one of the most important people in that party, the Labour Party in the Netherlands government, is Jeroen Dijsselbloem, the Minister of Finance. Now, he's not just the Minister of Finance for the Netherlands, which is already a very important position. He's the head of Eurogroup, the collection of European finance ministers which try and solve the endless crises that is currently afflicting the European Union. So if the Labour Party gets kicked out of government, the rules state that he would get kicked out as the head of Eurogroup, because you have to be a current finance minister in a government of Europe. But a lot of people like this guy. See, wanted new head of Eurogroup soon. Maybe. They're implying that, he may stay in power yet, which is looking more and more unlikely the more you look at Labour's poll numbers. Strange that the Labour Party. But I could see him just trying to rewrite the rules just to stay in power because once you find someone that you like in a European institution, it's really hard to get rid of them. Look at what happened with Martin Schulz. He almost stayed in power as the president of the European Parliament, but that's for the Germans. I'll say that for them. So to go over just like a general summary of I think will happen, the Labour gonna get crushed, creamed, probably forced out of government. The beneficiaries of that will be the Democrat 66, which is a liberal Democratic Party that was founded in 1966, 66. The Green Leagues and the 50 Plus Party. The Socialists, we'll see. Like I said, we have to wait for the party leaders debate to see who wins the trust of the people because you want to vote for the face that made you laugh or smile or whatever your wedge issue is. But yeah, the Christian Democratic appeal, I could see them forming government with the VVDA because they're both like center right leaning parties that probably agree more on social issues than they do economic issues. But it's Dutch coalitions. They don't normally do anything crazy. But who knows? For now, we just gotta wait and see what happens. Now let's move on to the French. In France, the main contenders are, as you see here, Benoit Hamon, who has won the Socialist Party primary to be the head of the Socialists. Francois Fillon, who won the Les Républicains, the UMP or whatever the hell they called them. I guess it's the Republicans. They wanted to copy the Americans because the right wing party in America is the Republicans. We did it first. The Front National, which is led by Marine Le Pen. Emmanuel Macron, who started his own party called En Marche, EM, EM. And Jean-Luc Mélenchon, who is the head of is it the left front or is it the what do they call themselves now? Yeah, they changed the name from the left front to the Unsubmissive French because they didn't win last time, so they wanted to shake it up. Now they have minor political parties in there as well, such as anyone ever heard of Lin LaRouche? Apparently he has a party in France, but as you can see, they're barely getting half of 1% in the polls. There's also a few anti-capitalist parties. This one's literally called the New Anti-Capitalist Party, and then there's the Lutte Ouvrière, which is, I believe, just worker struggle. So left-leaning parties. There's the obligatory Green Party, the moderate Dems, which is like center right peoples. This guy Francois Bayrou has run in the past like 4 elections, I think, and he just gets less votes every time. So I assume his votes are going to the Les Republicans. And then there's the France Arise party, which is a new Eurosceptic Gaullist political party. But yeah, let's talk about what happened last time. In the last election, we had Mr. Sarkozy. Mr. Sarkozy is Nicolas Sarkozy. Nicolas Sarkozy, the Mr. Flashy, looking at women's asses with Barack Obama. He, he was going a little too far right wing for France's taste, I assume. And they wanted someone to just calm things down, just maybe go back to a sense of normalcy. Because Sarkozy was probably making them look bad, giving them a reputation. So they went for Mr. Boring, Francois Hollande. And it turns out he is very boring, but he's also an incompetent cheater. That's right. This guy got caught cheating on his wife of more than 20 years, I assume, who was the previous candidate, socialist candidate for the presidency, Ségolène Royal. He got caught cheating on her with some journalist, and then the woman he chose to be his first lady, he cheated on her while he was in office. So he's just kind of a scumbag at this point. Like he was so unpopular that he couldn't even run for the presidency of France this time. He didn't even bother. Instead, he sent his prime minister out, Manuel Valls, the current, well, no, I can't say current. He had resigned to run the former prime minister to run on his agenda. And as you can see, it got reamed by the Jeremy Corbyn of French politics, as the media are calling him. He's a darling of the left. This is an article by Yanis Varoufakis, the sexiest prime minister in Europe, or sexiest former finance minister. Yeah, that's his title. So he's a darling of the left, but his poll numbers are just they're middling. No one expected him to win. It was more of a whoever comes out against Manuel Valls is going to be the person who wins, and it could have been him, or it could have been this schmuck Arnaud Martenberg, but it turns out it was him. So he's now leading a party that is in the view of many Europeans just dying. The French left are just getting their ass kicked. There's a crisis among the left in Europe, and the French socialists are part of that. They're not going to do well, I assume, because of this guy, Emmanuel Macron. Now, he was also in the government of Francois Hollande, but he was smart enough to quit. So he couldn't be tied to the regime. He started his own political movement instead of running for the Socialist Party primary because he's like, do I really want to be tied to a dying political party? No. Let's start afresh. Let's make something new. So he chose his initials and made a movement based off him, which is, I guess, center left ish. Yeah, he's not leading the polls, but he's looking likely to make it to the runoff because Francois Fillon, this guy, the Nicolas Sarkozy's former prime minister, he won by a very convincing. He beat Sarkozy himself. Let me see if I can find the results. Yeah, Sarkozy came in third. The person who was looking likely, at least the newspapers wanted him to win, Alain Juppé, he beat him by a convincing margin as well to just basically run away with the nomination. But it's come out that he gave his wife and kids about, I want to say, 800,000 or yeah, about 800,000 or so euros, basically $1 million, and about $80,000 to his kids for being parliamentary aides. Now, you and I both know that they probably didn't earn that money. That was probably just like, yeah, you're on my payroll. You did stuff for me. Yeah, here's the money. Even if they did work, it just looks bad, which is evident in his sliding poll numbers because he was looking like a very likely bet to make the runoff with Marine Le Pen, who is just leading the polls at this point. But now he's bleeding support. Like they're not even certain if he'll be able to limp his way to the runoff, which would be devastating for the right in France because then they'll have an identity crisis about as bad as the socialists are having right now. And we can't forget the communist, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, which is just stealing more votes from the left. The left is more splintered than the right in this election. So it's still possible that we could see two right-leaning candidates into the runoff, but with the scandal surrounding Francois Fillon, it's looking more and more likely that it could be Emmanuel Macron or even Benoit Hamon because no one knows jack shit about this guy. He's a very clean slate. He supports a universal income and things like legalizing marijuana, so he's the general leftist. But we don't know. Let's not forget there's a bunch of minor left-leaning parties such as the Green Peoples, the New Anti-Capitalists, Workers' Party. They're stealing votes from the left. So I could see if the a left-leaning candidate was to go against Marine Le Pen in the runoff, I could see them winning, but we have to see who makes the runoff. As you can see, the polls for the runoffs right now are Marine Le Pen doesn't do well in a runoff, apparently. The last time her party made it into the runoff, it was her father leading the party. That was back in 2002 against Jacques Chirac, one of the most corrupt presidents they've ever had, and he absolutely killed it. Like, I'm just gonna show you real quick. 82% to 17%. So she's not doing as bad as her dad, but she's still probably not going to win if the polls are correct. If the polls are correct. But I do believe she will make the runoff. Now let's move on to Germany. The Germans. Now then, Germany is led by Angela Merkel, who is head of the Christian Democratic Union, which is also serving with the Christian Social Union. The one's a German-wide party, the other one's just a Bavarian party. The Christian Social Union's the Bavarian party, which it has its own leader. So they're the same, but they're different. Merkel's in charge of the Christian Democratic Union as a whole, and the Christian Social Union is led by Horst Seehofer. Now they're in coalition with the Social Democratic Party, which was, up until now, led by Sigmar Gabriel. Let me see if I can find him. Sigmar? Sigmar? No, I don't have a picture of him. Bah, anyway. So they were being led up till, like, I want to say last month by Sigmar, but the poll numbers for him beating Merkel were just no chance. So they decided to replace him with Martin Schulz, the former head of the European Parliament, who decided to come home because he couldn't get another term as the head of the European Parliament. Anyway, let's move on to the other parties. With the Left Party, or Die Link, which is led by, oh wow, they changed leaders, Sarah Wagenknecht and Dietmar Barsch, so it's a co-leadership kind of thing. The Green Peoples, the Green Party, which is also known as Alliance 90, the Greens, which a party that they merged with in the 90s. These are the parties that are in parliament at the moment. Now, two other parties are the Freedom Democratic Party, which are like the liberals in name, which are led by Christian Lindner, and Frauke Petry, who is the leader of Alternative for Deutschland, AfD. Now, these two parties were unable to get into the parliament last time, as you can see here. The last election, the Social Democrats, they gained seats, but they didn't even break 200 seats, so it was considered a devastating defeat for them because Angela Merkel was like literally 5 seats away from being able to govern by herself. But since her coalition partner from the last election, whom she stole a large amount of seats from, as you can see, 93 seats lost, 72 gained, she she would have preferred to continue governing with the FDP, but she decided to form a grand coalition with the Social Democrats because they had done it before and it was the easiest thing to do because you're not going to form a coalition with the left, which are like far left people, and the Greens, which are also incredibly far left. But as you can see, the Alternative for Deutschland, this was their first time running an election last time, and they didn't break through to have the amount of votes to get into parliament, but decently well for a first-time party. And this time around, it is looking very likely that they're going to at least break 10% of the polls, which for a party that's never been in parliament, which would look very, very good for them. But yeah, the state of things are Angela Merkel is looking a little wobbly. Eh? 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 Yeah. Like before, like 4 years ago, she was looking untouchable. But the current refugee crisis that is plaguing Europe has just sagged on her European popularity. She's still quite popular amongst the Germans, which is quite interesting. You've had her for so long, I guess you can't really just throw her out on her ass. But she's not nearly as popular as she was like in the past year. So like to see she was leading by at least 10 points, but now the Social Democrats are starting to close in a little bit with a fresh face of Martin Schulz in charge of their party. Look at me. So it's going to be a closer election. The problem with Angela Merkel, though, is that this is the party she's in coalition with, the Social Democrats. If the Freedom Democratic Party, these guys, don't gain any seats, who's going to govern with her? Will it be the Greens? No. Will it be the left? Oh, fuck no. The Social Democrats have already said that they will not be continuing the grand coalition of the past 4 years. So it could be possible that they form a left coalition, a sort of rainbow coalition with D Link and the Greens, if they manage to get enough seats. We don't know at the moment. But what we have to look out for is the alternative for Deutschland. See how many seats they get. If they get enough seats to form a government with the Christian Democrats, which I'm not certain would happen because two right-leaning parties, one which is diametrically opposed to what Angela Merkel has been doing in Europe with the refugee crisis, would I don't think it would happen because Angela Merkel would have to completely change her stance on the current migration crisis. And it's not just uh, right-leaning parties that are trying to push Angela Merkel on the migration issue. Die Link is getting flack from its own base, from the leader that they just currently installed, because she has been forcing Angela Merkel to try and take some responsibility on what's going on. And her left base is just like, no, 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 no. We take in all the refugees. You say against the refugees, then all right, we leave the party. So if the Link loses seats, I can see the only people that I could see them losing seats to are the Social Democrats or the Greens, which are, yeah, it'd probably be the Greens because they're more left leaning and they probably suit the taste of the left more. Because the Social Democrats, after you've been in coalition government with the, the Angela Merkel for 4 years, you just don't look as left leaning as the left want you. So, well, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see which way the seats go. But Angela Merkel is not going to continue in coalition with the Social Democrats. That is certain. But that this election is not till September, so we have to kind of wait and see. Gotta wait and see on all of them. So just to recap on all the elections in the Netherlands, it looks like Mark Rutte is probably gonna continue his prime ministership, but with a different coalition. In France, Le Pen, if the polls are wrong, she could pull this out of her ass, but who knows? We got to see who her runoff opponent is. If it's Benoit Hamon, oh god, she really could do it. And in Germany, bye bye Grand Coalition. Let's see if Merkel can make it 4 election wins in a row, which would be unprecedented in German politics. But who the fuck knows? I'm McRosie. I hope this was slightly informative, and have a good one. See you next time.